Of course, the reason that we wrote that book first is because that is one of the most powerful energies you deal with on a daily basis. It is one of the most confused energies on your planet, and it is the one of the energies that is used in no uncertain terms in the branding and marketing that is done in your society. So this is a very, very important point as we go into this discussion, because if you understand that sexuality and the influence it wields has been used for a particular agenda in your society, you must remember that you have been indoctrinated in that society and in that value system. Now, there are two opposing forces at play here in terms of marketing. You have the fundamental structure of the church, which called sex sinful, and all kinds of demonstrations of sexual energy were punished and repressed and controlled. And those went underground. That energy went underground. You cannot stop it. It is the vital life force, the vital creative force that generates bodies on your planet, that creates babies, that created your body. Your parents had sex and they made you. And if sex is that powerful, it is worth looking at. But what we want you to know once again is the fundamentals of your society about repression, control, and shaming of sexual energy. And now in your modern world, sex is being used as a constant marketing device laid upon that shameful and fearful cultural teaching. So you have a very, very confusing energy and teaching modality being thrust upon you. So you have beings that are raised in houses where their parents never talk about sex. They go off in that room and sometimes you think something dodgy is going on, but you're not sure. When you were children, sometimes you would ask a question and you'd see the strange look on people's faces and they'd run out of the room or tell you not to ask those questions. And most people of this generation, we're not speaking about some of the younger beings who are in their teens now. Some of these beings are coming in with very, very highly evolved ideas and feelings about sexuality, but they in turn are bumping up against the indoctrinations of your school system and these kinds of things. So what you have is a very, very powerful energy that is repressed, controlled, distorted, and shows up in many, many different forms as perversions, as pornography addictions, as prostitution, as child sexual abuse, as all kinds of things. And this is the soup in which you are all flailing around trying to find your way. From our point of view, as highly evolved beings, as teachers, as guides, we have to start you off where you are. There's no way that we can take you to an ideal in one lesson. There's no way that we can take the confusion and fear and trauma of growing up in this society. It is a very traumatic society for a lot of people when it relates to sex. We cannot take those beliefs and ideas and traumas and needs and distortions away in one lesson. What we can do is encourage you to love yourselves where you are, to accept that you have these confusions, to accept that you have these distortions active. Some of you will have sexual distortions acting out in your life that are secret. You don't talk about them. You don't tell anyone about them. And they will bring shame or fear, or you think, well, if people found out about this, then they would know that I'm a terrible person. These are many of the thoughts and ideas that come up through the ethers to us. We hear your thoughts. We feel your feelings. So don't be shameful about anything, but accept where you are, and also accept that we are working to take you to an elevated frequency from the depths of deprivation, shame, and guilt. And that is a journey indeed. So when you are reading our material, when you are listening to our answers, when you read the Course in Miracles, when you go from where you are to the ideal, there is going to be a disparity, and there are going to be messages that you don't understand or that seem to be impossible to comprehend given where you are and what your experience and what your teachings have been. So what we want you to know is that sex, as it is enacted by the egoic consciousness, is not sacred. Food consumption, as enacted by the egoic consciousness, is not healthy. So we will give you a comparison here so you can understand what we're talking about. If you are in fear and low frequency and pain and suffering, the kinds of foods you might choose are very low frequency foods. You might have a donut for breakfast. You might have a big chunk of meat for lunch. You might have some candy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You might go to a fast food restaurant for dinner. You might have a few stiff drinks when you get home. That is a low frequency food consumption model. A low frequency sex functioning model will have those distortions that we mentioned. There might be some strange fetishes that are manifesting because of childhood experiences. There may be some personality distortions because of childhood sexual abuse. These are the low functioning frequencies of the egoic, sexual, physical, material world. And let us tell you, if you knew what was going on behind closed doors, you would be truly horrified. We feel it and see it and know it energetically. You have really no idea of the pain and suffering that sexual deviation causes in your society. You really have no idea. And we don't want to dwell on that. But we want you to know that the healing that needs to take place is first one of self-acceptance and love and forgiveness, because those are the only things that are going to take you from those low-functioning, egoic, highly physiological, physical aspects of sex up the ladder to the heart. It is when you get to the heart that things begin to change. But most people in your secular world, in your materialistic world, are functioning beneath the heart. You are taught to be intellectual. You are taught to be analytical. You are taught to be physical above spiritual. And so these lower frequencies thrive and get stronger, and love has nothing to do with it for a lot of people in your society, let us tell you. So when you read the pure non-dualistic teachings of Jesus in A Course in Miracles, and you read things that sound very, very different than the world in which you live, and let us tell you, the world in which you live is halfway down the ladder. There is another world beneath your world that you are mostly oblivious of. This seems highly idealistic and unapproachable and unachievable. But we will tell you that it is when the heart opens, and it is when you begin to forgive and when you begin to love yourself as well. Remember, when we use the word love, we don't mean another. We mean first and foremost yourself. When you begin to forgive yourself all of your errors, when you begin to love yourself, when your parents couldn't love you, when you begin to honor yourself by speaking your truth and living a life that you want to live, that is where the shift and change in frequency of sex begins. And that is the message that is being trying to be conveyed when those ideas of love not being physical come in, because it is at the heart chakra. It is here, when you transform your heart and mind into a different frequency, that you begin to access non-physical realms. We will tell you that there is an energy that is activated within the body once a certain level of loving thought is achieved that has nothing to do with the physical body. And this is why it seems impossible to have sex without the body, but it is possible. Our dear one has experienced that intense Kundalini awakening that was fully expressive of vital, creative life force, that was very enjoyable, that was very powerful, and no other bodies were involved. And that is a great lesson in and of itself. If you have the blessed opportunity to experience that kind of energy system, you will understand what these texts are speaking about. You will understand that it is not the physical body that creates the sexual experience. It is the energetic body, the heart and mind in a high frequency place that creates the loving experience. It is not body dependent. It is love dependent. And love is not of the body. The body demonstrates separation. That's one of the reasons that you have such a difficult time negotiating through sexual energy, because you have been pushed down into the physical material frequencies, and down there the ego rules. So you are suffering down in those realms and confused down in those realms. It is through the elevation of your own frequency, through the heart, through loving kindness, through forgiveness, through loving yourself first and foremost, that you will take yourself up into the frequencies where these kinds of ecstatic experiences can take place. And as you raise your frequency, you will be less needy, you will be less body focused, you will be less lustful, you will be more loving. And in those frequencies, the body falls away. In those frequencies, that is not what you are thinking about. You are in the realm of the non-physical, and the body eventually fades away completely. And that is a frightening thing for those of you that are in the egoic state of sexuality. That thought that you might not get to have those bodies to play with scares the ego. It doesn't like that idea. But let us tell you, we are in the non-physical realms. We don't possess bodies like you do. And let us tell you, we are in ecstasy a lot of the time. And you would trade your brief sexual experiences in a heartbeat for what we experience all the time. So that is where your spiritual evolution is leading you to a completely non-physical experience. So if you use your logical mind, your intelligent mind, and see the secular and physical and materialistic teachings of your society down here, and the eventual dissolution of the body into a light body, and the expansion of your consciousness up into the next level, you will know that as you go up that ladder, you are going to be less and less obsessed with the body. So don't be frightened, but don't turn to the body as your savior. It is not your savior. Your body is a demonstration of your separation from love, and it does not require you to do anything with it. What you need to focus on is the non-physical aspects of your consciousness, the heart, the creativity, the emotional guidance system, aligning with the frequencies of love and forgiveness and compassion for yourself first, and then others. Once you've got yourself feeling good and happy, then start focusing on other people. This is one of the distortions of the Christian church that has always told you to focus on others first. This is why you are so unhappy a lot of the time, because you do not honor yourselves. The more you honor yourself, the more you honor the non-physical. What do we mean by the non-physical? Your feelings, love, creativity, appreciation, music, art. Art is not about paintings. Art is about creation. Music is not about selling records. It is about the creative process. The artists are immersed in the creative process. That is the joy. It has been monetized and marketed in your society, so you get confused and you think it is about the painting that sells for $15,000. No, it is not. It is about the moment that artist put the paintbrush to the canvas and they felt something and they envisioned something and they created something. That is the frequency that is valuable. It is not the object. And the same goes for your bodies. It is not the legs. It is not the breasts. It is not the sexual organs. It is the feeling, the heart, the love, the communion, the caring. And yes, you must care for yourself first. You must honor yourself first and love yourself first as the first building block in this wall to a healthy sexual expression. So if you hate yourself and think you're ugly and your life is a mess and that you're a failure, you are going to attract a sexual partner that's got the same frequency as you, and it is not going to be pretty. Get yourself sorted out first. If you're obsessed with having a partner and you have to have a partner, wait as long as you can until you feel that you are in a place where you are at least having some semblance of a peaceful experience. But we say to you, it is the worst thing to go into a physical sexual relationship when you don't love yourself, when you don't appreciate yourself, and you are walking around in fear, because it will turn into a battleground, because that is the frequency of not love. So we want you to focus on the non-physical, knowing that the bodies, the relationships, everything will follow along behind the frequency that you set with your feelings, your heart, your mind, your training. We will speak to you again shortly.